Welcome to the conversation part of the Upper Bowl podcast. We have recurring guests. He's one of the producers of the #1 sports radio station in Boston, as well as the country for Felger and Mazz for 98.5 The Sports Hub. He's one of our main hockey guys for the Upper Bowl podcast. I'd like to welcome back to the pod Kevin Maggiore of 98.5 The Sports Hub. Kevin, how are we doing today? I got to say, it is free agency, or is there lack of free agency because everyone's re-signed with everybody?
Well, I'm doing good. Thanks. Thank you for having me. And it's been a little bit. Yesterday felt like a lack of free agency, right? It was a weak class to begin with, and then Monday night everybody decided just to stay with their own team. So that led to kind of a boring July 1st yesterday for most teams. I think a few teams had a busy day, but it was a bit of a boring free agency.
I've never said I'm at that point now. Here's what I'm going to propose in the next CBA. I personally think you should, if you're a UFA, you have to go straight to market. Even if you're going to resign, you have to go to the start. You have to start negotiations on July 1. See what happens. If you get a better deal, you get a better deal. Because I personally think some of these people who re-signed with Florida are screwing the NHLPA to get more money. You know, that's what I think.
You know, I also think too, like, if maybe it's not, you have to go. Maybe there's a date. Like, if you haven't re-signed with the team by May 10th, I'm just throwing a day out there. Then you do have to go to market. You can still absolutely re-sign with your team, pull a Brock Besser, I'm going to go to market, not agree to a deal, and then 20 minutes in, I'm going to agree to stay where I am. But yeah, maybe there's like a line of, if you haven't signed by this day, then you got to at least go to market and see what's out there for you and what teams can try to improve their team.
I think so. I just think it sounds way better and it'll make July 1 so much more entertaining, at least. Like, I feel like Aaron Ekblad should be at least be getting 8 times, like 7 by 12 at least. Like, he's like one of the best defensemen available in the market. He should be able to get all the money he can anyways. Like, there's some people that deserves to get all the money, especially this past playoff performance.
Yeah, and sticking with that team in Marchand, Marchand requested to go there at the deadline. He obviously loved it there. He obviously stayed, and they gave him 6 years so he could get the money that he wanted, right? But I mean, who's to say that Utah wasn't going to throw him 4 years and $8 million per, where he makes the same amount? Now he's making less in Florida, obviously the whole no income tax and everything, but who's to say, like, maybe he would have taken that deal and gotten more money? I even thought, I think people were against it. It obviously didn't happen, but I guess it came down to, did he want to win more, which it seems like he does.
Yeah.
Or did he want to walk off? Because there's the income tax here in Massachusetts, but if he did come back here and let's say he signed 3 years, $21 million, where he was getting 7, but then obviously you have to cut out what the tax was, but he would have gotten so much on the marketing end of things. He had a Sam Adams beer like right before he left. You can still make money in the markets where you're a very marketable character, and he is a marketable character here. He would have been a marketable character in Toronto.
Oh my God.
The AAV would have been more, less term. He would have made the same amount of money in that sense, but he also could have made, I mean, look, he's got the whole Dairy Queen thing down there. I don't know how much he's going to make in marketing down in Florida the next 6 years.
Not as much, because here's the thing. It's football,
Absolutely,
and basketball, pretty much. Even though the hockey team has won back-to-back cups, I will tell you this. If no matter what cares about the headlines, the football teams will take over as always, and it's the basketball team, even though they're in the middle of no man's land right now. And hockey's always just been the fourth sport. It's always been like the fifth or sixth sport down here, anyways. You put the college teams up, and also you can honestly, if I'll say this, which would be very bad, Inter Miami and Lionel Messi is but trying to kick their fan base, but they're ahead of the Marlins, at least. I always say that. So.
Well, I think it is pretty simple to be ahead of the Marlins down there. I'll tell you that, based on what I've seen, park-wise. Yes. But and you say football, like, I know college football is huge down there. People don't like to hear me say it up here, but like, because our team is terrible right now. Hey. But football's king. Whether no matter where you go, hockey might not be fourth up here. I think it's probably third. I would put it ahead of. Currently, maybe it's fourth behind the Celtics because of how good the Celtics have been. But I think hockey's three.
I say second sometimes because you do have a lot of more topics to talk about. And Michael Felger, your host you work for, did a wonderful job covering the Bruins in the dark ages, anyways.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's but again, going back to all of it, football's king.
Yeah.
Like no matter we're in a downtime, we really don't talk football like kind of right now. These last couple of weeks, maybe another week of it. But guess what? Training camp's back at the end of this month. No matter where you go, whether it's college or pro, football is in this country. Football is king. Obviously not king up in Canada but football is king.
We don't break down the CFL. I don't know if we could anyways. It's too many rule changes.
Totally different game.
Definitely, for sure. All right. What was the big? I have all the list of the signings. Let's go through one through one. And there's some other ones I have too. There's also a lot of news going on, but I really want to get first going off. The Bruins, Marco Sturm. I like the hire because I'm always for new head coaches that's not from North America get a chance at least. He's not from he's played in North America forever. He's German born. Am I correct about that?
Yes.
I think it's a kind of a great thing to have in the NHL because you don't have much diversity anyways. It's the lack of it. And you have all the same like knuckle draggers of North American GMs and stuff not going outside the box. I'm really excited for the Bruins, what Marco Sturm is going to bring. What is you guys' been thoughts? I saw you guys had him on Felger and Mazz for the first time. The Bruins have had someone on there for since Cam Neely was there.
I think speaking show-wise, they were very underwhelmed. They were very upset that it was another Bruin. And I get it. Like another former Bruin, it at times feels like a bit of a boys club up there, which it kind of is. I personally, I'm not over the moon excited about it, but I personally liked it. My thing going in was like, I didn't want one of the retreads. Maybe I wanted Mike Sullivan. I don't think that ever really was going to happen because of the McAvoy angle. Like, I just can't see how that would have gone, him being, the son-in-law. So I kind of was out. I would have taken Sullivan, but I never really thought it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I didn't want Tortorella. I didn't want Quinn. I didn't want Tocchet. I didn't want all of these guys that have been here, had their chance, and done nothing. I say, Tortorella has been 20 years now, 21 years since he won a cup with Tampa.
Yeah.
Right? Sullivan won a few. He did have one of the top 5 players of all time on his team for those, so that helps. But I didn't want one of the retreads, so I was happy they took a guy that didn't have NHL head coaching experience. I was happy that they went that route. I maybe would have preferred it to not be a former Bruin. But at the same time, there wasn't too much of an overlap between Marco Sturm and this current front office. Like a couple of years with Neely, I think it was like 2 or 3 after Neely became the president that Sturm was on the team. Sweeney was, in the front office in some sense, assistant GM. I don't know what his role was back in 2010. That was Sturm's last time playing a game with the Bruins was in 2010. So it's not like they brought back somebody that they had drafted or they had traded for, or it's not like they just threw Bergeron out there. He had no experience, and they said, here you go. This is our guy.
Yeah.
So it's not too much of an overlap where it makes me comfortable. He does seem, based on what he said, especially with us, it does seem like we're going back to the Claude Julien era Bruins. People don't like that because they thought the games were boring and they tried to win games 2-1, 1-0. Okay, one thing I will say about, and I'm not saying Sturm's going to do this, one thing I will say about the Claude Julien era Bruins is they have won once. The team has won one Stanley Cup in the last 50 years. And guess who the head coach of that team was? Claude Julien. Yeah. So if we're going back to the way that won you games, then you know what? Let's see if he can turn this team around, turn them into, again, they were great. They were structured defensively. They were great. Look, I know Florida can win game. They won the last game 5-1, and I know Florida can win these 7-5, 6-4. Like the defensive identity, the tough forecheck, like that's what wins you cups, and that's what the Bruins had when they went to one. They won one and went to another. So if he turns it into the Claude Julien era Bruins and they start to come back up and become this team that wins a ton of games and can get to the Stanley Cup Finals, I don't have an issue with that.
I don't either.
Who would?
That was the most fun time. Like, as someone who's an outsider, is like I root for another team. It's like those were fun times for Bruins fans and also hockey. Anyways, you had Boston, Montreal was on fucking fire, and that would be so perfect. Anyways, especially for this Atlantic Division, it's pretty much one team than 3 other teams fighting for the rest of the playoff spots anyways. And if for my own sakes, if I can get that, and I can get the Boston fan being loud and chest up and having them piss off Florida Panther fans, I'll be so happy, because I really need these Panther fans to see what a real original 6 fan base can be anyways.
Yeah, and obviously they've pushed them around the last 3 years, so they haven't seen it. But yeah, I mean, so overall, if he's gonna, I wanted to get a chance. I don't know how yesterday helps or hurts him in terms of what they're putting out there for a roster, but I want to see him get a legitimate multiple year chance to really instill what he wants to instill and put this team on the path that he wants them to be on in terms of his coaching.
Definitely, for sure. I think it's gonna be fun anyways. I want to see what these next couple I want to see what the roster looks like. I want to see what picks are gonna make the team, and like see if there's what's in the cover for these draft picks that they've drafted previously. Are they gonna make the team? Are they gonna be the bottom 6? Are they gonna be the top 6? I just want to see what it's gonna be like anyway. So plus there's Olympic break, so there's really intrigue what's gonna happen with this roster before the Olympic break and after Olympic break.
And leading into that deadline, and yeah, I mean, I going into yesterday, I thought a lot of young guys were kind of locks to get a chance, but with everything that happened yesterday, they're still going to give the young guys a chance. But if anything goes on the previous 3 or 4 years, 5, 6, 7 years that you want to say about this team, even if the young guys have a good camp, they're going to get sent down to Providence, which is frustrating.
Yeah. As I like to say, let the young kids play, get the experience, and it could be fun anyways. It's always good. It's good to have, like Patrice Bergeron. I remember he made the team out of the camp, and he was at the 03 draft. It's like that never happens. He's learned to play 3 different styles of hockey: the lockout, pre-lockout year hockey, the post-lockout, and now the speed and skill type post-lockout. Anyway, so
yeah, and I felt at the end of the year they obviously had to give a lot of the young guys chances, and I thought some of them took it. I thought some of them were really good. Apparently, the team didn't feel the same.
Well, sometimes the team knows what they're doing. Sometimes the team does not know what they're doing. So we'll say that. How about that?
We're in that loop for a while.
I know, for sure. All right, let's get down to the free agency. I have a lot of them. There's a lot of interesting ones. Let's start with the big one, Mitch Marner. I kind of wanted him to go to Boston because I was going through the clips, and you said like Mitch Marner in the Boston Bruins uniform would be a beautiful thing. Anyway,
that's what I wanted.
I know, but instead he goes to Vegas. He got a sign-in trade, which is kind of crazy. I feel like the NHL is learning from the NBA ways. Like, we can do sign-in trades. Let's do it. Give him the extra year. 8 years. I think he's getting $12 million per year.
12 per. Yep, I believe.
12 per. Does he deserve the 12 per year? Because I feel like he doesn't. There's some players that deserve it. Like Mikko Renton deserves the 8x12 any day of the week. Mitch Marner, like, he disappears in the playoffs. What was your thoughts on the whole deal anyways?
So I say yes, that he deserves it. He's a 100-point guy in this league. He obviously did that last year. You know what? Yeah, the playoff numbers have been kind of down, obviously, but there's always been noise around him. And I know that, William Nylander's always kind of stepped up and performed, but I don't think Austin Matthews has been very good in the playoffs. I don't think John Tavares, I know he scored the Game 6 winner to get them to the second round finally. I don't think John Tavares has been anything special in the playoffs. I don't think Morgan Riley has been anything special in the playoffs. But every year it goes to Marner, who also, hasn't been special in the playoffs. But the thing with Marner is that he's from the Toronto area. Yeah. They love to pick on the local kid. We do it here. If a local kid doesn't play well in the playoffs, guess what? They're going to get on that local kid, and I think that was the same thing for Marner. I think the pressure was ramped up every year on him when it got to the playoffs, and I think that led to him not performing. So I think it was a great signing or sign-in trade by Vegas. We'll see how he does with Cassidy, but I think he's going to fit in perfectly there. I do think he's worth that money right now. If he continues to go out in Vegas and not put up a ton of playoff numbers, maybe you start questioning that. I think there's going to be a whole hell of a lot of pressure on him out there, and I think he's going to be perfect in that lineup. And I'm rooting for the guy. Like, I like the guy. I wanted him in Boston. I'm rooting for the guy to do well. I do think right now he's worth that. We'll see how his playoff numbers end in Vegas.
I think it's going to be entertaining at least. And plus, seeing the intro video of him throwing on the jersey looking so happy, I was like,
hadn't seen a smile that big on that guy in a while.
I haven't seen that big of a smile since he got drafted. At least I
Yeah.
don't know if the draft day counts. At least since he got drafted by his hometown team, but
They really ended his happiness up there, which is unfortunate. And I hope he thrives when he's in Vegas.
For sure. I think that's gonna be the most fun team to watch in the Pacific Division since they lost Pietrangelo, possibly for his career because of the whole hip injury thing, which is sad. I will say that for sure.
Yeah, good player, 2 cups. Just it's unfortunate to see. He's been pretty solid in his entire career in the league.
Is he the prototype defenseman you'd want to see for the 21st century or for hockey moving forward? Would you say?
I don't know completely prototype, but he's a guy that you want on your team. I would say there's a handful of guys in the league that you want as your number one defenseman, and he's on that handful.
Definitely, for sure. All right. Bennett, Marchand, Ekblad staying in Florida. I was surprised that Bennett signed. I knew he was going to sign with Florida. I didn't know how much money he was going to get. It was like 8x8 or something. I call it a good deal anyways. I'm shocked that Zito got all 3, honestly. I really am.
But you're kind of going back to talking about Ekblad and how much he should have made versus comparing of what he made. Marchand, again, probably what he could have made in the market versus what he's making. Mm-hmm. I am shocked that he got all 3, especially when the Bennett price came in at 8. I thought maybe Bennett would be a little bit less as well to keep all 3. He still did it. Overall, I mean, I think I said it to you before we got on here, like, they're the only team in the Atlantic that I can't even say got better. It just stayed the same. And they've won the last 2 Stanley Cups. They've played in the last 3, which means them staying the same is they're still a Stanley Cup contender with the ability to win a Stanley Cup. Keeping those 3 guys. And they brought in Daniil Tarasov via trade, who I'm not going to knock on Vitek Vanacek here, but I think Tarasov has a bit more of a future than Vanacek. So they brought in a guy that possibly next year, because I believe this is the last year of Bobrovsky, can replace him. So, I mean, those deals, good on Zito. He's the best GM in the league. There's no question about it. I think Jim Nill's up there as well. But right now, to me, Zito's the best GM in the league. And getting those 3 done, it shows.
Definitely shows. As someone who likes to question the goalie department, as always, I was bummed when they traded for Spencer Knight, but I totally understood why they had to do it to get Seth Jones down here. They probably knew like Ekblad was going to get popped for something, anyways. So good on that. I'm very questionable. The post life after Bobrovsky is my big thing, by the way.
And it's a very fair question to have. I mean, we're talking about the guy that is probably going to go down as one of the greater goalies, not greatest, but greater goalies.
Russian goalie.
Yeah, Russian, absolutely. 2 cups now. He's won multiple. I believe he's won multiple Vezinas.
Yeah,
that makes you one of the better goalies that we've seen in this league. And I know there was a stacked team in front of him, but also, the Bruins just kind of put a bunch of weird shots on him, but he wasn't the starter in 2023. He came in, and he's what kind of him getting back in there kind of sparked that team to go on the long run that they've been on.
Definitely. I was doing that series of producing those games. Alex Lyon was the starter. I was like, they're definitely going to throw in Bobrovsky and sooner or later, and he's going to get hot sometime. And lo and behold, that's what happened. Anyways, I'm still mad that the Bruins should have won that series in 5 anyways. That's just
but looking back, I think there's a little bit of hindsight. Boston fans to call this Bruins team the biggest group of chokers, and I will never say that they should have lost that series. They were up 3-1. They had a wagon of a team, but anybody that believed and still believes that Florida team was an 8 seed is absolutely out of their mind. The Bruins were the best team in the league that year. They were the best team in the conference. They had to play the second best team in the conference in the first round of the playoffs. It just happened that they had injuries, they had an identity change, and it led them to being an 8 seed.
And also the Bruins and Panthers split the season series that year, which was I produced a lot. I produced a lot of those games. I said, people looked at me, it's like, what's your prediction? It's like, I could honestly see Florida in 7. People looked at me, was nuts down here in Florida. I was like, no, trust me. You guys don't watch hockey. You're going to watch the basketball team more than this. He says, like, oh, Bruins going to win in 4 and 5. I'm like, no, this will probably go at least 7.
Yeah. And anybody that still believes that team was an 8 seed.
Yeah.
It hasn't been paying attention.
No, that is South Florida sports fans for you.
Well,
so. I got to take my shot at it anyways. All right, Evan Bouchard staying in Edmonton for 4 years, $10 million. That's the biggest overpay of all fucking time.
That is gross. Great. He's got offensive numbers. It's easy to put up offensive numbers when you play with two of the best players in the world. Defensively, that guy is a mess. You could take that $10.5 million and split it between two defensemen.
Yes.
One that can put up 50 points on the blue line, and one that can actually play defense on the blue line. And instead, they gave $10.5 million over 4 years to him. That deal is just not, in my opinion, probably one of the worst ones that was signed in the last couple of days.
Do you want to know what I thought they should have done? Sign Dmitry Orlov and find a way to get Brent Burns up in Edmonton.
I mean, Burns obviously old, but I mean that fits. You know, I think those two guys better than 4 years, $10.5 million with Evan Bouchard.
Definitely, for sure. Matthew Nye staying with Toronto. I thought he was going to get an offer sheet somehow. Could we say he's the next member of the core four, or whatever they're going to call it now since Marner's gone, or do you say?
Yeah, and I never thought the Bruins would offer sheet / get him, but unfortunate. There's always a guy on the team you hate the most that you want. And I'm not saying I wouldn't want Matthews or Nylander or those guys, but speaking in possible reality terms, I thought Nyes would have been slightly a reality. Some people tried to cook up a conspiracy theory of his girlfriend getting drafted by the Boston professional women's hockey team last week, that, maybe they'll want to be together in Boston. I love the deal for them. Great player. Yes. Tremendous player. I love watching him play. And that, to me, one of the better deals signed. He will be that next kind of part of the core there in Toronto.
Definitely. I think he's been the most entertaining, though. Like, if I want to watch Toronto games, he's the most person I want to watch, or Nylander especially.
I do laugh, though. Toronto fans love to post the GIF of him asking Pasternak to fight and pushing him and laughing at him. And it's like, yeah, great. You know what? How did that series end? So I do love that. But no, he is. If there's a guy from that team I want on my team, and I'm not saying I don't want Matthews and Nylander, but Nyes is high on that list.
We could use a nice American player that actually shows up in playoffs.
And he better be wearing a damn red, white, and blue jersey in Italy next year. I don't know why he wasn't wearing one in Montreal and Boston this year, but he better damn well be wearing a USA jersey in Italy.
I'm at the point that we could take his U.S. citizenship, like, you're a Canadian, or go play for the Finns or something at least.
Yeah.
Let's do that. All right. John Gibson traded to the Red Wings. That trade, that speculation that was going to happen. John Gibson's finally traded to the Red Wings. Are the Red Wings finally going to make the leap finally?
No. I just, like, I don't know. What are they like? I feel like they won a cup in 2008. I think it was 2008 where they had Osgood and Hasek, right? Yeah. And it's like they brought in my opinion, the greatest goaltender of all time. He played a couple games in the playoffs, and it, like, worked out. Osgood was still the starter when they won it all. And they had this, like, goalie past his prime that was still good that helped them win a cup. And I feel like that's just, like, what they do goaltending-wise now. Like, when was the last time John Gibson was good? I know the team out in Anaheim's been terrible. But, like, when was the last time John Gibson was, like, a top 10 goalie in the league?
I feel like 17?
It's probably then. Yeah, probably because he was on the World Cup team.
Yes.
The under 23 World Cup team. But I just look and they brought in James Reimer a few years ago. They brought in Nedeljkovic. They brought Nedeljkovic, I think, was
Alex
still
Lyon.
young. Alex Lyon. Like, I feel like they just keep bringing in these old goalies and thinking this is the one that's going to make it happen. And then there are other, they brought Kane back. Like,
they brought Kane, brought in JVR too to pick 1 and 2 of the 07 draft. Is on the same team.
So I just kind of look at that team and it's like, is that team better than Florida? No. Is that team better than Montreal? No. Especially with Montreal's moves. Is that team better than Toronto? No. Like, like, they're like max at a wild card team, and they can't even get there.
No, it's sad. I wonder if Steve Eisman on the hottest of hot seats now.
I mean, he's got to be. Like, he did a great job down in Tampa, but the eyes are playing, whatever they call it, like, not working out very well in Detroit right now.
No, it's crazy. And plus, I don't like Todd McClellan as a long-term head coach I think he's the perfect like 3 or 4 year head coach, and you got to find another one.
Yeah, and that's another one where like Lalonde, who was before him, Jeff
Blashill.
Blashill. Like I don't really know what they've done since Babcock left, and the guys from that 08 Cup team, 09 final team have started to leave.
It's crazy. It really is. All right, we might as well get to the Bruins. Tanner DeGino to Boston, 7 years, and Victor Arvidsson traded for a 5th round pick. I'm gonna give you the floor. Take it and run it, please.
So, 5 years, 3.4 million.
I got 7, so that's my bad from good old.
5 years, 3.4 million. I honestly, a few weeks ago when I saw that he was going to hit the market, I said, that's a good player for the Bruins bottom 6. And anytime I was on Puckpedia, I did like 2 years, $1.75 million, because that's what I felt he was. You could give him under $2 million and couple years, and then it's 5 years, 3.4 million. And I don't think he's that great. I do like the player in the sense of he's heavy on the forecheck, he hits, he can fight. I hope he's not just out there trying to pick fights with people.
That's what I'm hoping for. We don't need that.
Yeah, just like fight when you need to. When you feel like you gotta, somebody blows up one of your younger guys with a borderline hit, and you challenge. I'm fine with that, but 5 years, 3.4 million is just insane for a guy that scored 24 goals in his rookie year and has done nothing since. And that just lines up with what this team has done. Matt Bolesky, years ago, David Backes, like I have absolutely no idea what the point of that contract was. And again, like I said, I kind of like the idea of like 1 or 2 years under 2 million. I think he'd be a good fit in that bottom 6. Especially if you have a young group where you want somebody to protect them. 5 years, 3.4 million is awful. On the Arvidsson deal, Edmonton was trying.
I saw Ty Anderson's thoughts. He literally died inside.
Yeah, not very happy. It was a very unhappy day there for him. Edmonton was trying to dump the guy, and you gave him a 5th round pick in 2027. Okay, whatever, but you probably could have got him for a whole hell of a lot less than that, meaning a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Arvidsson. I think they went in yesterday hoping to get Besser, hoping to get Ehlers. I think they saw that they weren't going to get Besser or Ehlers. Mm-hmm. And I think they looked at the market and said, it's going to cost us a good chunk of money to get somebody along the same lines as Arvidsson. So we'll take the 1 year, $4 million. And I mean, my thought was you trade a 5th round pick for him 1 year, $4 million. Mm-hmm. If things don't go as well and you got to sell at the deadline again, you might be able to flip Arvidsson, depending on how he's playing, for a 2nd or a 3rd round pick. So ultimately, in the long run, you could turn a 5th into a 3rd. Which is great. But then they go on and make the move of getting Jeannot and bringing in the other guys, the other depth guys that they did. And it's like, oh, they actually think they're going to contend for a playoff spot, which means Arvidsson's not a rental. He's probably going to be here the entire year. I know he's capable of 20 goals. I know he hasn't been the same since the surgeries that he's had, the knee injuries. I like the idea of a guy that's capable of 50 points, but I mean,
hey, those recovery times take a little longer than usual, and if he's good, I think he'd be fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This is the move where if he's good, I think it turns out to be a great deal. Oh, yeah. Right? If he's good, it turns out to be, Sweeney wins that one, even if it's just 1 year and you got to, if he scores 20 goals, has 25 assists, I think that's a good deal, especially if they think they can get to the playoffs and they maybe get into that second wildcard spot. It works out, but that one was maybe gave up a little bit. It's crazy to say for a 5th round pick, but maybe gave up a little bit more than you needed to for him.
I know, that was crazy. I was like, and I saw Ty's look. I was like, I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. We just need to check on his health, anyways.
Yeah, if he's healthy, he could work out totally well for that team.
Definitely, for sure. All right, what's your thoughts on the K'Andre Miller to the Carolina from New York for Scott Morrow, conditional first and 2nd round pick for 2026? Anyways.
I won't lie. I kind of like what Carolina has done.
Okay.
Do
I
they
bashed a team anyways. It's the old Hartford team, and I'm from
do
Connecticut, so
do they ultimately get past Florida? No.
no.
But I do like bringing in Keandre Miller. They're obviously, like you mentioned earlier, Burns and Orlov. Those are two guys that are probably most likely leaving Carolina. You bring in a guy like Keandre Miller, who I think is a great defender, a great overall defender. I think he is a good fit for them down there. So, and they also, obviously, it's not, I guess it's more of an extension off free agent wise. They gave Logan Stankoven a pretty reasonable deal as well. I like what they've done down there. I think if you had to talk about a winner over the last like 5 or 6 days, it's them. I thought they had a good draft too. Mm-hmm. So I like the idea of them bringing him in. Obviously, Toronto, the Rangers were looking to shed some salary. They were close to the cap. They wanted to give Will Cooley a new deal. They brought in Gavrikov. So I like the move for Carolina in terms of what they needed to replace what they're probably losing in free agency.
Do you like the Gavrikov move? Because he's a defenseman. I saw that.
I haven't watched a lot. I'll be honest. I have not watched a lot of LA Kings hockey in the last year and a half. Gavrikov getting that much money scares the crap out of me. I think he's defensive defenseman. I think he's good at that, but is he worth what he was given? No, not even no. But I guess
it's James Dolan money. We're just living in it. And we can laugh.
Exactly. It's his money, so he can do whatever the hell he wants with it.
What was your thoughts on the Pete DeBoer firing, by the way? And would you want him if he was available? Would the Bruins hired him? You think?
No, I would say no.
Okay.
I like DeBoer, good coach. It kind of goes into the retreads. I don't want to retread. DeBoer, if you look at his coaching record, seems like he gets to a new spot. Couple of years are good, and then things start to fade. I know they made the conference final this year, obviously, but I would have been out on him. Just another retread, another guy that I wouldn't have been interested in. I think he would have been here 3 or 4 years. The same thing would have happened. And I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think he would have wanted to be here.
Oh,
he's gone to teams with good rosters.
Yeah.
Right. Or at least his last two, Vegas and Dallas. San
Jose was falling apart on him anyways towards the end. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that he wouldn't have wanted to be here. I don't think he would have been a great fit for what the Bruins are apparently trying to do, which is get younger, but that didn't happen yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, I would have been a no on him. And I think he wanted I think he wanted a year. I do believe that his son is a senior this year in college hockey. So I think maybe he saw the opportunity of following his son around and probably what could be his last year playing, hockey at that level like that.
Where do you think he'll land if you had to choose a spot for him?
Well, I mean, I guess it all kind of goes, how does everything unfold next year? Who gets fired? Who's on the way out? I guess you got to look around the league and who are good teams that if they don't come through next year, their coach probably is on the way out. And I'm trying to run through the playoff teams, probably nowhere in the Atlantic. Maybe I guess
Detroit. I'm gonna say Detroit.
Oh, I mean, yeah, possibly, especially if they have a good year and they're a little bit up and coming, but they decide to move on.
Yeah.
I mean, how much longer is John Cooper going to be in Tampa? I think
that's what I want to see, anyways. What's going to happen there?
Yeah. So, if they have maybe a down year and they decide it's time to move on, I could see him ending up in Tampa, something like that. But I don't even see him being a midseason, somebody got fired, he's going to be the replacement. I don't see that happening for him. But so I guess it goes, how does everything unfold next year? What playoff team that thinks they have a chance that can't get over the hump finally cuts the coach loose and he slides into that spot?
Would you be shocked if Carolina fires him? Fires Rod Brindamore or no? Because I feel like he's holding the organization together still. Yeah,
I would be shocked if they fired him. They seem to love him there, and I think he is. I don't think he's the greatest coach, to be honest with you. I think he's great, but I don't think he's
not the coach to get you over the top.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what's their record in 3 conference finals under him? 1-12.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're 1-16 in their last 17 conference finals games. So I don't think he gets you over the hump. So, but I still think he, like you said, keeps that organization together to keeps them, being a conference final team. But I don't think he is ever going to get that team over the hump.
I don't think so either. All right. Connor Brown, Jonathan Drouin, and Evgeny Devonov to the Devils. Did they get better, or are they still the same spot? Anyways, would you say?
I think they got better. I do think they did. I just don't know where they're going overall.
That's me too.
I still view them as one of the top 2-3 teams in that Metropolitan Division. I think Brown, Drouin, especially, help them get a little bit more bottom 6 depth. Mm-hmm. They obviously have a lot of talent up top. Yeah. Hughes, Bratt, Meyer. I
get Timo Myers was on the team all the time.
I do sometimes forget that. I also I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Thomas Hertl is on Vegas.
No, it's the other young kid there that they had drafted. He had Nico a good.
Hischier.
Well, so Hischier, I was skipping over Hischier, but there was another young kid they drafted. Now it's going to kill. I got to look it up. But I think they have a lot of high end talent in the league. Mm-hmm. On that offense, but I thought as they went down, it got less and less good. Dawson Mercer's the other kid who had a good year, his rookie year. I believe it was his rookie year or his first full year in the league. And then it was his second year that he had a 27, 29 goal season, 27 goal, 29 assist season. Was really, there's a lot of top end talent there. I thought as you got into that bottom 6, it was a little bit not as good. So adding those guys to the bottom 6, I think is a pretty good fit for them. Probably a little bit too much money on Connor Brown, but with the way contracts are going, I think it is what it is. I think they got a little bit better, and they're not going to be as easy of an out next year.
Let's hope I just don't want them to be losing 5, and we don't have any more hockey to watch in the Metropolitan.
Well, yeah. That's
what was your thoughts on the Flyers getting Trevor Zegras and Vic Tocchet? By the way, because I was surprised they got the Zegras deal. Surprised me.
I didn't want Zegras here. People wanted Zegras here, but I think he'll be fine there. I think it'll be interesting to see him with Tocchet because I feel Tocchet's more of the John Tortorella mold of don't goof around out here or try to pull off the Michigan
players coach.
But look, he's a good player. He's a good player. There's things with him that you probably have to deal with. Mm-hmm. Whether you like it or not, but I think it's a good move for them. He's obviously good buddies with Drysdale.
Yes.
Right. So you get those guys back together. Maybe that helps the two of them living with your buddy again, playing with your buddy again, whatever it is. I do like the move for them. There's talent there. There's so much talent there. It's just, it needs to be pulled out of him and he needs to be a little more reliable, I would say, overall on the ice.
Two-way game at least.
Exactly. But I think it's a good move for Philly. I do think he'll be a good fit there.
What's your thoughts on the Stars hiring Glenn Gullison again for their head coach again? I want your thoughts on this one because I had my buddy Jake Reitman who works for 105.3 The Fan. He was not shocked by it. I kind of talked myself into Steve Ott to be the head coach. Who's
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's kind of, I know it's been a while since, because he did 2 years with Dallas and 2 years with Calgary, right?
Yeah, he was in between that. He was with Vancouver.
It's just like, I feel like it's another retread guy that gets brought in. The record overall, I mean, he had some pretty good, I don't even want to say pretty good, like the records overall for being not as in the playoff race, like he was above a 500 coach, but not much more than above a 500 coach. Yeah. I maybe he's learned things. Maybe he's gone around and learned how to be different as a head coach. But to me, it felt like kind of more of an uninspiring move. If that would be my full response to it, it's a little bit uninspiring. Kind of technically a retread, having done 2 stops elsewhere, or 1 stop elsewhere, 1 stop with this team.
Yeah.
But overall, it was just kind of another hiring to me, if that's how I could describe it.
I looked at it as like the last time you coached the Stars, remember when they were in bankruptcy? Or did you?
I don't fully remember that.
That was the 10. He was there in 2011-12, and they were still in bankruptcy. And then Ghilardi bought it halfway through the season. So he was there when Ghilardi, before the NHL was running it, then Ghilardi bought it, and he was there like before they hired Nil, anyways, and they fired Nil.
And that's another factor of it, of like he has one of the best GMs in the league building his roster. Yeah. So maybe with better players and a better roster, that ends up helping him and making his third overall second stop here, a good one.
Let's hope so. Radek Fox got back to the Stars. Were you shocked by that? Because I thought he would be perfect for another bottom 6 team. I don't know who for someone's roster.
I don't say shocked. I mean, it's like a lot of guys re-signed where they were. Yeah. So it didn't shock me as much as maybe others. I just didn't think he's one of those guys, like, you don't know what the market's going to be for him. You don't know where he's going to go, who's going to want him. But overall, I'm not totally surprised because of the amount of guys that re-signed where they were. And he must, hey, look, you went to the conference final the last few years. Like, you're not that far off from getting over the hump. You got to make a couple changes here and there.
Yeah.
So staying there, if he likes it there and felt another chance, it doesn't surprise me that he wanted to stay there.
What was your thoughts on the new CBA, by the way? They're going to 84 games.
I hate that. They're going to add teams. They got to subtract teams. They're going to add games. I'm out on. I mean, it's probably going to get you 2 more division games. So you play everybody in your division 4 times now, as opposed to a couple teams 3. I do like that, but 84, it feels like too much. You're going to add more teams in a league that's already kind of watered down. Mm-hmm. I don't love it. I'm happy there's no lockout. We've been threatening that forever. We've had lockouts. We had full season, half season. We were threatening one after the COVID bubble. Like, I'm happy there's going to be no lockout for the next few years. I like that, but I'm kind of out on more games and ultimately soon more teams.
Where do you want? Because I feel Atlanta. I don't want Atlanta. I've said it on this podcast. Instead of all my guys, I don't want Atlanta. I would like Houston. Are you cool with that at least?
Houston, yes. I will say in Atlanta, if they have the right ownership group, yes. Because it's such a massive market. They need the right ownership group to come in and actually build a team that's worth being invested in and people being interested in. And I don't think the first 2 times that was the case.
I just think they were set up to fail both times because of the second time, especially with the new expansion draft anyways. Yeah. When you have Ted Turner buying the team, it was like, here's the leftover money at the Braves, and the Hawks can't spend anyways. So.
But the right ownership group coming in, the way expansion drafts are now, I think they could be successful. They just need things to go right.
Where else would you want? I know Houston's huge. Houston would be huge, but I think it would be good for hockey in Texas.
Yeah, Houston would be. I think that would be a good spot there. I
want Phoenix back just for my own person because
I would like to see Arizona get another team again. This is a quick story of when I was out there 3 years ago. They're in Glendale. Glendale's so far away from Scottsdale. It's so far away from Phoenix. It was a Friday night game. Bruins, Coyotes. If you're a person living in Scottsdale that doesn't care about hockey and somebody gives you free tickets to the game and says, here's 2 tickets to tonight's Bruins Coyotes game
on the glass.
On the glass. It's a Friday night. Are you going to drive 45 minutes to go watch a game that you don't care about for a team you don't care about against a non-conference opponent that you don't know anything about? No. So if they can get the team closer, Scottsdale, Phoenix, in that area where it's maybe a 15-minute drive and it's, hey, I'll go to the game tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they should get a team again, but that team's, we're not putting them in Glendale. All right. You got to get them in Phoenix or Scottsdale, and it will work.
I've been to those games in Glendale on a Saturday night. That place ain't even filled up for a 6 o'clock puck drop anyway.
It's dead. It's brutal.
It's brutal. What random state would you want them to expand to? I think we had Russ Joy on here. Said he wants Omaha, Nebraska.
It's a small market, I mean, if we're talking random state, I mean, I don't even know if I have an answer for that.
It's a teaser for next time you're coming on. How about that?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we'll say Oregon. I don't know.
That would be kind of cool, actually. That would be kind of cool.
Get a team in Portland.
Put it in Portland at least. That'd be a fun rival between the Portland and Seattle at least.
Yeah, they would build a little bit there. There would be a little bit of non-Canadian because of Seattle, Vancouver, but the American.
Absolutely. What's going on with Felger and Mazz these days? I enjoy the summertime shows as always because there's people are talking sports anyways.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna wrap up. I mean, we'll do a little sports talk recap, everything that's happened the last 2 days, Bruins and Celtics wise, even Red Sox, and then then it gets ugly for a little bit. We'll have to find something to do tomorrow and next week, and then a couple weeks from now it'll be football. So just trying to slug along and get to the first day of training camp, Patriots wise. That's what's, or mini camp or rookie camp, whatever it is. That's what's going on with the show.
I need Felger to do another USA soccer rant because that was just perfect last year during the summer.
Well,
that was perfect last year during the dead zone.
Yeah, maybe something will happen. Gold Cup wise that he'll be focused on.
Let's hope so. Kevin, thank you as always for taking time out of your day before you go from 2 to 6 nonstop with Felger and Mazz. We appreciate it a lot.
No, happy to be on there.